Greetings everyone, I'm Mar. Once again, this is my opinion, as you can tell from the title up there. I am reviewing the latest entry in the Dragon Ball series, Dragon Ball Super Superhero. Kind of a title that rolls off the tongue, but also is like, really? We have two supers in here? But it works. Now, for those of you who don't know, either you guys haven't been watching the channel very long or need a refresher, I've been watching Dragon Ball for a pretty long time. Not since the beginning when it comes to its airing in the United States, but semi-close. As we all know, it started airing in the late 90s here in America. The different dubs by Funimation, first when they were partnering with Ocean, and then when they started doing everything in-house around the midpoint of the Frieza saga. I didn't start watching until 02, 03, religiously I would say. Before that I'd watched some random stuff, I was aware of it, but I didn't watch it, mainly because, as I've mentioned in other videos, at that time our cable package that we had did not come with Cartoon Network. That was a higher tier one. And once it got it, I started watching everything. Got into Toonami and started watching a lot of stuff. Now, some of the shows Toonami had, I was kind of sad that they got rid of once we got it. Like, the anime that got me into anime in the first place, Sailor Moon, was no longer in the package once we got Toonami. But Dragon Ball, started watching it in the original one. The normal Dragon Ball, they were in reruns before the last couple sagas when I started. And Z was in the Buu saga, which is one of the reasons I have a nostalgic leaning for the Buu saga. Then I got into watching all the non-canon films, marathon watched through all of it, watched Kai when they started airing it, despite a lot of the questionable edits they had to do to air it on TV. And I still enjoyed it. Now, I even went out of my way to watch the first OVA they did back in 08, Yosun Goku and his friends return. Now, when they announced that they were going to be doing more movies, I was ecstatic. Of course, that led to Battle of Gods, which I did see in theaters when they released it finally back in 2015. I believe it was it was 2014, excuse me. Me and my then girlfriend at the time went and saw it in Florida. That was a fun experience. The only negative thing I could say about that theater experience is the fact that our necks were craned because we were towards the front to the side, so we're like all the time, but it was a fun one. Resurrection F I didn't get a chance to watch in theaters due to timing and other stuff I'm not going to go into here, but I did watch it once it hit video, and haven't watched it in a while, but I remember enjoying it. Then once they started doing Dragon Ball Super, I started watching it. I haven't watched every episode, even though I could go now because I have the entire series up on that wall. And it's one of those things that go back and rewatch it eventually. Now, whether my opinion on the recap sagas at the beginning will be the same or different this time, who's to say, because I know they did redo some of the animation from them, but we'll see. Then with Super, the first one under the Dragon Ball Super banner was, of course, Broly. Now, I didn't see it in theaters because at that point, I had switched jobs, and I had to request days off if it was a day I didn't have off since I worked swing, and it's not like I can go to a showing after work like I could back when I worked at the courthouse. But once it hit home video, I watched it because I pre-ordered it, watched it, and I enjoyed it. Probably one of my favorite of the Dragon Ball movies because of how it connects back to the lore and actually how it makes Broly make sense within everything. Now, I'm not going to go into that film in here other than that this does carry over a little bit. And I have been following the manga a little bit, but I haven't been reading it a lot of it. But even though from what I hear, this movie does carry off more from the manga than it does from the anime. Mainly when it comes to Pan, but this movie takes place after a lot of the events that are being covered in the manga right now, like Noah and all that stuff, but it doesn't address it directly. So it's like a sequel timeline-wise, but not like talking about the plot-wise. And it's a film that is very Piccolo and Gohan heavy, which is a fan of all the little characters. I'm like, yeah. Goku and Vegeta are basically off training with Whis. Broly's in tow. He still hasn't learned how to fully control his power, so any arcs going ahead that involve him, he's probably going to be learning how to control his Super Saiyan rage boosts, which will be interesting. Should make for some interesting dynamics between him, Goku, Vegeta, and the rest of the characters. I can imagine him and Gohan having an interesting conversation when it comes to Saiyan rage boosts, if they ever do get around. Now, the main villains in this arc are the Red Ribbon Army, which I know a lot of fans when they heard that. They're like, really? The Red Ribbon Army again? Weren't they played out with Cell? Yeah, it kind of was a little played out with Cell, because by that point you're really stretching the whole thing. But how they played it off at the beginning and the prologue made sense, to where there were remnants, and the main villain, Commander Magenta, is the son of Commander Red. And even down to the fact that he is short like his father. So I would believe that, even though it's a character that comes out of left field. But for those of you watching Dragon Ball at this point, coming out of left field is kind of one of Toriyama's trademarks, so it makes sense. And there's nothing in the past lore that I can think of off the top of my head that says, oh no, that can't happen. Well, Commander Magenta is rebuilding the Red Ribbon Army in secret. How? None of them kind of figured out, like, wait a minute, this is a different Red Ribbon thing. Maybe they're connected to the Red Ribbon Army. I don't know, it's one of those little minor things you think of for a moment and like, maybe they just hit it well enough. Or if they were confronted, they're like, oh yeah, I'm the father, but I'm not doing anything. Even though based on what they did when they were first talking about the androids, you would think they would kill them all in cold blood, but nope. Now, one question I wondered is how the hell are they going to build robots that can go and fight Piccolo and Gohan? Now, Piccolo, maybe, even though at this point in the series he should be stronger than a Super Saiyan 2. So it's like, how do they build an android stronger than Cell at this point? Without more time travel or something being involved. And then it's like, okay, maybe Piccolo they might be able to get a match for, but Gohan, even if he's not doing all of his training thing, the moment he goes into his ultimate form, he should be able to waffle stomp him, unless they, play into the fact that without him constantly training, his training sense does dilute a little bit. Which that does come up a little bit in the film, so I'm going to applaud him for that. Now, who is the one that creates these androids? Well, that would be Dr. Hedo, who in the English dub, which I watch, is voiced by Zach Aguilar. Who, if you don't recognize that name, you haven't been watching Demon Slayer, apparently. Dr. Hedo is the grandson of Dr. Gero, which I do like this little thing of the lore. Confirms that Android 21 in the game is based off the design based off of Dr. Gero's wife. Just like how it confirms that Android 16 design is based off of Dr. Gero's son. Which, of course, here means that big guy procreated, because Hedo has to exist somehow. And Hedo is intelligent like his grandfather, but it seems he's more intelligent. But the way they play him off, it kind of seems like they're really going into the little design of like he's kind of a millennial scientist. Which it makes fun of it a little bit, but it also celebrates it a little bit too. Because of everything that goes on with him, and the way that Zach voices the character in the English dub definitely is believable and it fits. And you kind of hate the character at first, but then by the end of the film you like him a little bit. I'm not going to spoil all that, but it does tie into what happens at the end of the film. Now, Magenta and his big lunk Carmine make a deal with Hedo that, we want to bring back the Red Ribbon Army. You need your finances. We both can strike each other's back. Now, Hedo, he seems to have a sense of honor, which is why I say you do kind of like him. But Magenta exploits that by trying to say that Piccolo, Gohan, Bulma, everyone there, they're evil. Evil! And Dr. Gero was good. So you can see the whole thing. Evil is based on your point of view, to use a line from Star Wars, and that's what they try to do here. So, what does Hedo do when he makes his androids? As we see in the trailers, he decides to make them superheroes. So they have their own little sense of honor thing, which does come to play by the end of the film. And they go in that they're going to attack the whole group. First, they send one to attack Piccolo, which confirms Piccolo has his own house away from the lookout, which is nice. And he has his own cellular device too, which makes sense. He has to keep in contact with Bulma, Gohan, Pan, and everybody else. And Piccolo fakes getting killed and follows them. And this is one thing I love about how Piccolo is in here. It shows that he has learned through his interactions with the rest of the team and with other humans. And while he does still have some social interaction skills to build off of, he is not like super socially awkward. Like him talking with the teacher at Pan's preschool, how he blends in when he sneaks into the Red Ribbon Army. Some of them he has to think of stuff off the top of his head. And I love the way Christopher Sabat voices this part of Piccolo. Gives him a little bit more to work with the Piccolo other than Big Green, I Smash type character. And then of course the animation and all that, which I know not everyone is a fan of this new CGI rendering animation style. And I was a little on the fence about it at first, but watching the film, it's not too bad. And part of it is because if you've seen the previous films where they did incorporate some CGI into the fight scenes, it's that same type of style but perfected. So I don't mind it. I could see not everybody liking it, especially thinking, oh, anime is going to go this way now. It might, but for a one-off movie so far, I don't mind it. Now, going back into the whole thing with Piccolo, he does try to sound the alarm. Now, how he does it with Gohan makes sense, because I was wondering one way how they were going to kidnap Pan, which ties into this. Piccolo lets it happen, and he kind of facilitates it, because he knows that one way to get Gohan to get off his butt and actually do something when it comes to a fight, other than, like an invasion like what happened in the Return of Frieza arc, you have to push a certain button. And in this regard, he's going to get it to where you're going to push the Pan button. And he goes and he fights the androids, and at first he's losing, partially due to the fact while he has been training, as we saw with Piccolo in the lead up to the Tournament of Power, he has gotten lazy again. His battle senses have dulled a bit, which I hate that they keep constantly doing that, but hopefully this is going to be the last time that happens because of what happens in this film. But he starts to get him back, but then the androids learn as they fight. But then once the Pan button gets pushed and Gohan goes into his ultimate form, everything goes. Now, people know that Piccolo gets a power-up. I was wondering how that was going to work, because how that happens is one of the things that was spoiled before the film came out here in America. Like, oh, he uses the Dragon Balls. I'm like, how the hell is the Dragon Balls going to do a power-up? But within the context of the film, it works. All I'm going to say is nail, similar to that. And it works. And then, of course, how he gets the new form also ties into that, which I thought was pretty cool. And it does give him a good boost. And, of course, we see the return of massive Piccolo as well. That was nice. Now, the one thing that I could see, another thing I should say, I could see a lot of people liking is the fact that Cell comes back in this one. It's not the same Cell, it's a different one using whatever leftover notes there are. It's called Cell Max. There's no use trying to hide it. I think everybody's heard of it now. It is essentially Cell 2.0 for this timeline, where they take the basic thing, take out some of the other stuff, and of course, because of Magenta, birth it early. And it's essentially what Hirudegarn was, just a big old kaiju monster. And I can see it not being everybody's cup of tea, but within the context of the film, I actually didn't mind it. Now, going up on what happens with Gohan by the end of the film, people are going to say, oh, they're trying to recreate that one. Yeah, a little bit. But given that the whole point with Piccolo and Gohan's relationship in this film is Piccolo trying to get Gohan to get off his duff and actually realize his true power, tying in with something that Vegeta has said multiple times, is that Gohan could be the strongest out of all of them if he actually wanted it. And with him, all the buttons being pushed, of course, in the context of the scenes and how the film flows, it all works. And of course, we get Cell Max versus everybody, and then Cell Max versus Gohan Beast, which is the name of his new form. Which they really haven't explained what this form is, but I like to think that this form is his own Saiyan transformation that is built off the ultimate form. So there may or may not be some God Key involved, because they really haven't fully explained everything about the ultimate form thing. My little, for lack of a better term, headcanon thing is that there is some God Key involved in there, which is why it boosts your power past the limits. But as we saw when Gohan got waffle stomped by Gotenk's Absorb Cell, Boo, that even has its limits. But with Beast One, it works, and it is actually something that the dub kind of created a little error with in the Boo saga, and that is, he's not turning into a Super Saiyan. Well, with this form, it looks like it could be Gohan's ultimate form actually going into a Super Saiyan proper, because it's his own Saiyan transformation. Kind of like how Super Saiyan Blue is when a Saiyan is using God Ki and then goes Super Saiyan on top of it. Kind of the same little principle there. The fight choreography, there's a handful of fights, and I thought the choreography fit each individual one. You know, they're feeling each other out, the lower level fights against the androids. Once Cell Max comes into the picture and they have to deal with him, that all works. The little nods to, of course, the past Cell Saga, with when Gohan actually snaps and goes beasts. The fight, the fact that he finishes off the big baddie with a move from one of his mentors. Of course, for the Cell Saga, it was the Kamehameha, which was the father-son one. Here, it's the Makan Kasapo, aka the Special Beam Cannon. Which I do like in dialogue that they address that, like, hey, what was that move? Oh, I've been practicing it. Like, nice little moment there, and the people that go with the meme of Piccolo being Gohan's real dad are probably like, that's his boy. And of course, you can tell, like, Piccolo does have a little bit of that pride there, but it's also because Gohan is one of his students, so he's like, yeah, I knew you could do all this. And of course, once Vegeta and Goku find out about this, Vegeta's probably like, see, I told you if you wanted to, you could be the strongest if he did all that. Now, of course, there's a whole thing of what if Broly, Goku, and Vegeta showed up during this fight. They might have been able to help, and Gohan might not have had to go beast, but that's a what if thing, because we don't really know what the power scaling for this form compared to everybody else's. We don't know where Cell Max exactly would go with everybody else. We see where his power scaling is with, like, Orange Piccolo and everyone else. And of course, Orange Piccolo, we don't even know what the power boost for that is. At least with all the Super Saiyan forms and everything else, we kind of have a good idea. Super Saiyan being 50 times, Super Saiyan 2 being 2 times that, Super Saiyan 3 being 4 times Super Saiyan, if I remember right. Or is it 4 times Super Saiyan 2? I forget which it is, but it's a 4 times boost. Another little minor thing I like, and this is one thing I was always wondering, and that is, why does Gohan need to wear glasses, but then there are times he doesn't? Well, apparently when in his base form he needs them, but once he goes Super Saiyan, I guess the key kind of makes it to where he doesn't have to wear it. And I liked it. Piccolo even brings it up. Wait a minute, you don't need glasses when you turn Super Saiyan? It's one of those weird little things, but at the end of the film it makes sense. And of course, there was a variation of a line that I'm sure my co-workers, when they saw this, they probably thought of me because of my little meme thing, was when Piccolo was like, "No students will be for you!" That's usually what I do at work as a play on the soup Nazi. No soup for you. All in all, Dragon Ball Super Superhero is another fun entry in the Dragon Ball film series. I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite, but it is definitely in the running, and definitely is going to make things interesting going forward. Now, I did mention stuff about Hedo earlier, but that is because by the end, him and the remaining android have redeemed themselves, and looks like they're going to be hanging around a little bit. So we're seeing a bit more of them, just kind of like how we've seen a little bit of the Pilaf gang since they wish themselves to be kids. So this should be interesting. There's not really much else for me to say here, other than while it's still in theaters, go out and watch it. Comes with the Mars stamp of approval, especially if you are a long-term Dragon Ball fan. If you're on the fence with the series, this might be the thing to get you to watch it. He said, go on blind, some things might not make sense, but the whole thing with Cell and all that, the opening prequel kind of set the stage for, so you can watch it without having need to have seen any of the other stuff because of that. Although it will make more sense if you have seen some of the previous films. Till next time, guys.